Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Was a Jonin Sensei, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Okay, said Shikamaru in his meeting with the Kazekage, he and Naruto had gone to sooner after the defeat of the demon, so they took down one of the demons. That's good and all, but do you think that we need to start figuring out what needs to be done now? What do you mean? Asked Naruto unfocused. I mean the other 7 demons. Shikamaru sighed, we got lucky with the one-tailed, but it is likely that won't be the case with the others. After all, if what I know about the demons is accurate, won't the others be more powerful? Yes, I guess the simplest way to figure it would be that the amount of tails signify the power that they possess, least to most tails equaling weakest to strongest. Spoke up Gaara. Shikamaru shook his head. So the weakest of the bunch was destroyed, he said, and waving his hand to the window in Gaara's office, outside the entire village was still celebrating. And those people are operating under a false hope, there is still much to do. Temari spoke to him, oh give it a rest you lazy jerk, the one tail to them is what the 9-tailed is to Konoha, so yeah, let them enjoy it. Shikamaru sighed and sat down in the chair next to Naruto, troublesome. Temari spoke to her brother, but he does raise a good issue, we don't even know where the others will attack, or if they even will attack anywhere. How are we supposed to track them all down? Gaara considered this, but Naruto spoke, true, we don't know where the bulk of the others will attack, but there are 2 that I know of and I have a good idea as to where they might turn up. He looked around at the others and continued, the 2-tailed cat might show up in Cloud, that was the demon that was used in their Jinchuiki, and judging by the way that the one tail attacked here for using him, it stands to reason that the other might act in the same way. Fair point, and I assume that the Cloud Village has been sent information on this. Said Gaara. Yes, I have sent Kawazu to inform them of this. Temari spoke up, what about the other one? Naruto nodded, yes, the 3-tailed tortoise, I have not obtained any information that it has ever been used in a sealing, and so there is no village that I can think of that it would gravitate to. Unfortunately, that means that all we can think of is the way that it might act. Its animal instinct might draw it to the sea, so chances are that is where we might find it. Shikamaru said, that is a good point, except for the fact that the sea is huge, it still makes it hard to find it. Gaara spoke, I think that our best bet for that one is keeping watch on portside towns and other places like that. You are right, Naruto, the chances of coming across that one in a landlocked place are slim. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, smiled Naruto as he stood up, and Gaara did the same. We will keep an eye out for it and the others, and will of course let you and the other cages know if we hear anything at all about it. He said, holding out his hand. Gaara took Naruto's hand and shook, and we will do the same, friend. Naruto nodded his head, then looked out of the window, it's getting late, I think that we might have to spend the night. We will leave in the morning. Gaara agreed, a wise choice, after all, the desert can be even more brutal in the night than in the day. You and your group are welcome to spend the night in my home. Thanks, Gaara. The sun was setting. On a balcony just outside of one of the rooms in the Kazekage manor sat Shikamaru. He was looking up at the darkening sky, deep in thought, so deep that he didn't notice the door to his room open and someone join him on the balcony until a voice jolted him out of his gazing. Somehow I knew that I would find you here, said a female voice. He looked behind him and saw Temari leaning against the wall looking out into the distance. When did you get here? He asked her. She scoffed, some ninja you are. You can't even sense me coming when I wasn't trying to hide my presence at all. He shook his head and turned back looking up at the sky and muttered, whatever, I have a bit on my mind. He was silent for a moment, then said, I'm not sure I like the desert that much. What do you mean? She asked. There's not enough moisture in the air to have any decent clouds. She smirked, so I hear that you are chief strategic advisor to the Hokage now. I can't believe Naruto talked you into that. That troublesome guy kind of forced it on me, he mumbled. I swear I think the power has gone to his head. Temari laughed, still it was apparent to me even during the Chunin exams that the idiot was capable of great things, after all he got you to do something that troublesome, didn't he? What do you mean? She smiled and said, I seem to recall that he was able to set everyone's resolve in the first exam with a few simple words. If that is not the sign of a good leader, I don't know what is. Shikamaru nodded, yeah, I guess so. He looked back at Temari and said, you know you can sit down if you want. She walked over and sat down beside him. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a pack of cigarettes. Taking one out and lighting it, she pulled a face as she looked at him. He noticed and asked, what? I didn't know you smoke. I don't, he replied. Only one day a year, on the anniversary of his death, I have one pack of his preferred brand. She nodded in understanding, and then asked tentatively, so how long has it been? 9 years ago today. She leaned into him and he started, what are you doing? Not much, just relaxing, Temari said. Why, you have a problem with that? He sighed, not really, it's just we told each other that this would never work, we are both too loyal to our villages. And yet every time one of us is in the other's village, we somehow are always in each other's company. She smirked, seeing the uncomfortable look on his face. Now, why do you suppose that is? She asked innocently. Troublesome. The next morning, Shikamaru and Naruto, along with their escorts, were heading back to Konoha. They were walking through the sand village, and Naruto almost got caught up in the celebrations, and Shikamaru had to remind him that they had to get going. The pair, flanked by Anbu ops, soon found themselves in desert just past the main gate of the village. Naruto said out loud to his escort, you know guys that it has to be hot in those clothes and masks, we are in the middle of the desert after all, and if you want you can remove some of it. He smiled, you have my permission. None of the Anbu obliged, and Naruto sighed, well, suit yourselves. The group soon came upon a glossy part in the desert, looking at what seemed to be thick plate of glass that was sunk into the desert floor. Shikamaru said, must have been one hell of a battle. Yeah, said Naruto. Melted the guy down to nothing, this will be here for a long time. He smiled, fitting tomb for the demon, encased in glass for eternity. The group continued on, and by sundown they had navigated past the desert. After 2 days of travel they found themselves in a very familiar forest landscape. They soon saw the village gate in the distance. Another hour and were home, said Naruto. They traveled for a bit more and were soon walking through the village gates. There they found the Chunin guards and Hana waiting for them. She spoke softly to Naruto, Sensei, you need to come with me to the hospital. Why? What happened, Hana? Asked Naruto. It's your wife, Hinata-sama has been attacked. She replied solemnly. Time stood still for him as the words sunk in, he was at a loss for words. He simply stood there numb, when he finally asked, voice cracking, what happened? Please Sensei, just go to the hospital, she said, tears forming. He snapped back to reality and vanished, in a flash, before they could see him do anything. The doors of the hospital burst open, he walked in and went straight for the admission desk. The attendant there looked up at the noise to see a very upset Naruto. Hokage-sama, she said before she was interrupted. Where is she? He asked. Hinata is fine, Naruto, said a voice, and Naruto slowly turned to see Sakura standing there holding a clipboard. Come on, I'll take you to her room. As the pair walked, Naruto questioned, Sakura-chan, what happened? She replied, she was attacked, she will be perfectly fine, but we have to keep her here for observation for a bit. Who attacked her? She can't be on a mission, she's pregnant. Sakura flinched, she was hit in the village, one of the retired shinobi. She steadied her voice, there is something else, Naruto. The way that she was stuck, while she will be fine, caused another problem. What do you mean? Sakura was silent for a moment and they reached the door to her room. Naruto noticed her hesitation as she held her hand on the handle of the door, not opening it. What do you mean? He repeated firmly. I'm sorry, Naruto, there was nothing that could be done. She said sadly, she miscarried. His breath left his body as he took that in, he ran his hand through his hair and said, so you mean? Sakura nodded. Naruto said, I want to see her. She opened the door and he entered to see Hinata in the bed with Hanabi, and Hashi sitting on either side of her. Hinata was sitting up with her face in her hands, tears pouring out from in between her fingers. Hanabi and Hashi looked up and saw him. With a nod they both stood and made for the door. As he passed him, Hashi put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and gave him a fleeting glance before he exited and closed the door behind him. Naruto made his way to the bed and sat in the chair next to her. She had still not looked up and he reached up and took her hand. She lowered her hands and looked at him, her eyes red and cheeks stained from the tears. She stuttered, Naruto-kun, and he stood to sit on the edge of her bed as she fell into his arms. I'm sorry. He said nothing, just letting her cry into his shoulder. Finally she slowed her tears and he held her out. He brushed a stand of hair from her face. Shush. It will be alright, Hinata-chan. I am glad that you are okay. But the bee baby, oh our baby is gone, she sobbed, reaching out to him and pulling herself closer. I'm sorry I was so weak, I could have prevented it. Naruto hugged her closer. Stop that, don't you ever think like that. He said softly, you are not weak, you never were as far as I'm concerned. You are strong, strong enough to push yourself and improve. Now that takes true strength, so don't ever think like that, okay? They sat like that until she had finally cried herself to sleep. He laid her back down in the bed and wiped the tears from her sleeping face. It will all be okay, he muttered quietly to no one in particular. He kissed her forehead, everything will be okay, Hinata. He strode from the room, and upon exiting saw that Hashi and Hanabi were still there. He said to them, she is sleeping now. Hashi nodded and Hanabi pushed past Naruto and went back into the room. Naruto closed the door. Naruto spoke to his father-in-law, where is he? Where is the man that did this? As he said this his eyes flashed red for a moment. Hashi said, Hokage-sama, please calm down. Naruto nodded and his eyes faded back to blue. Hashi continued, he is in interrogation, I believe the Uchiha is with him. Naruto replied, okay. He started to walk out and then turned back to Hashi, are you coming? The pair made their way to the place where this man was being held. The guards on either side of the door to the room bowed to both men. As they entered the room they heard a striking sound. In the middle of the room Naruto saw Sasuke and a man bound to a chair. Sasuke turned and saw them standing there. He then stepped away from the man and made his way back to his friend. Naruto, he said. I'm sorry, how is Hinata-san? Naruto nodded, she will be fine. He looked at the man in the chair, who he saw lip was split and had bruises forming on his face. And what about him? Asked Naruto. Sasuke said, as far as I can gather, it was a solitary act, he was alone. Naruto nodded but her then walked over to the man and grabbed his hair roughly to pull his face up. Why did you do this? The man smirked, I did this village a favor, I didn't want that demon spawn born. He spat in Naruto's face and Naruto wiped the bee and saliva away while still glaring at him. The man continued, you may have the village fooled, but not me. Naruto got right in the man's face, I'm not the demon here, you are. I should your tea right now. Naruto spat, his eyes flashing red again. You do realize what you're done, don't you? You attacked the Hokage's wife, a descendant of the Hyuga clan, and her unborn child. He roughly threw the man's head back, letting go of his hair. You call me a demon, a monster. You're wrong, people like you are demons, monsters. He walked away from the man and the three left the room. Sasuke asked, so what will you do with him? Hashi said, he should be for this transgression, that would be an acceptable punishment. Naruto shook his head, now I need more information from him. I need to know if he knows of others that might still be thinking this way. He sighed, damn it, I thought I was past this, not my loved ones are suffering for this. After that I think, yes he will be. Hashi nodded but Sasuke said, I was with him for over an hour, it seems like I said. This was an isolated act. Naruto said, yes it probably was, but I have to be sure. I don't want my children to be punished for this thing that is inside of me. He sighed, get a Biki, not that I doubt you Sasuke, but if anyone can get anything out of him it is a Biki. Naruto sat at the desk in his office. In front of him stood a heavily scared man, alongside a very sadistic-looking, and scantily clad, Konoiki. Abiki spoke with a low monotone pitch as he made his report. Hokage-sama, I have interrogated the culprit as per your request, and I agree with Uchiha Sasuke when he said that this man acted on his own. The act, however malicious, was entirely his doing and there were no co-conspirators in his crime. Thank you Abiki, said Naruto. I did not believe that there would be, but you can never be too careful. He sighed, unfortunately, though he acted alone, that does not prove that there are not others out there who would do the same. And what of the culprit? Asked Abiki. Hyuga Hashi is pushing for his said Naruto. And I agree with him on that. I just wish I could be sure that it won't happen when we try for another child. If I can suggest something, spoke up Anko, smiling wickedly, publicly him, and let the people know what happens when they screw with your family. No, said Naruto simply. What do you mean no? Anko spat out. Ibiki waved her down. Hokage-sama, she does raise a fair point. Doing this will deter others from trying anything. Not if they are truly set on doing so. Tell me, does the man you hold in the interrogation room seem remorseful about what he did? No, forget that. Does he even seem to care, knowing that he is likely to s? He does not, admitted Ibiki. I thought so, Naruto said. That actually makes things worse. If he is so focused on hating me, then who's to say it can't happen with others? And that is another reason why I can't publicly do it. If I did, then it might send a message not to do what he did to some, but I can't do that as I will not be one to control people with fear. He sighed. It might also have the opposite effect. It might cement in people's heads that I am a demon. No, he will be but not publicly. I will not give people that are still undecided about me a push in the wrong direction. That makes sense, Anko said. It is true that the villagers might think control through fear is something a demon might do. Ibiki smirked. Kid, you've defiantly grown. There was a knock at the door, and at Naruto's word it opened and 3 people entered, Hashi flanked by 2 Hyuga guards. The 2 guards bowed to him while Hashi went up and grasped Naruto's hand. The hospital staff tell me that she is able to return home soon. Naruto brightened a bit. That's good, I look forward to seeing her at home. Hashi nodded and asked, will you talk to her about this soon? And are you to try for another? Naruto shook his head. I'm not sure. I just don't know when a good time would be to bring it up. Sakura said that she needs some time before she is fully ready to try again. I will give her all the time she needs. Hashi asked, you were looking forward to it? Yes, Naruto said. I was looking forward to it, to being a father. I know that the first time was an accident. Hashi raised an eyebrow, and Naruto continued, completely unplanned, but when it happened I was happier than I have ever been. I never had a family and I when saw it happening with her, I can't really describe that joy. I've never felt anything like it in my life. I was looking forward to it as well. Hashi said solemnly. He then turned quiet for a moment before speaking. Have you decided what to do with that animal? Yes, I am giving him over to your clan. The orders are to E. It can be in any way you see fit, Hashi-sama, but it must be out of public eye. You are not going to take charge of it. No, I can barely stand to look at him without the hatred pouring out. I fear what might happen if I saw him again. I will not lose control to the demon. Naruto had another hour or so to get to the hospital in order to get Hinata, and bring her home when he decided to visit the home of his wife's old sensei, Kurenai. Hokage-sama, she said with a slight bow, as she answered. I am so sorry to hear what happened. Who is Hinata doing? She asked, and invited him in. Better, I hope, he replied sadly. He looked at his watch and saw he had time still. Listen, Kurenai-sensei, I need to talk with you for a bit. Absolutely, she said. And by the way, you can stop calling me sensei, you are Hokage now. Naruto smiled a bit. Sorry, old habits. I have a deal for you. I won't call you sensei, and you stop with the Hokage-sama stuff. Fair enough, she said. So, what did you want to talk about? Oh, a few things, he replied as she motioned for him to sit at her couch. To start, how is little Asuma doing? He's 9 years old now, right? She nodded, sitting in the chair across from him, and said, yes, and growing up fast. He is in the academy now and striving to live up to his father's name. He has also been listening to his cousin, Konohamaru. She smiled. It seems that you have your pick of replacements for your job, should you step down. Both he and Konohamaru want that job of yours. A worthy goal, Naruto smirked. Unfortunately for them, I don't plan on stepping down for a while. He looked to the mountain, where there could be seen construction crews in the spot next to Tsunade's face. After all, my face is not even completely on the mountainside, he joked. He then grew seemingly curious, but that kind of brings me to what I would like to ask you about. What's it like? She was confused. What's what like? Being a parent, he said. He then went on, his fears this past day spilling from him. All my life I have wanted a family. I finally found a way to have one in Hinata. But the first time was taken from us. He sighed, and said what was really eating away at him. When it happened, I got to thinking. Am I not meant to have one? I can't do that to Hinata, if every time we try something like this happens. And then what if we have a kid? What happens if there are people like the man who attacked Hinata out there? People who are willing to harm an innocent child, because they see that child as a demon spawn. I can't do that to a child. I will not subject my child to what I went through as a kid. Kurenai stared at him, thinking to herself that she might have had it so hard as a single mother. She then asked, "Why have you come to me? Not that I mind, of course, but there are sure to be others that know you better than I do." Naruto nodded. That may be true, but of all the people in this village you know Hinata best. That is why I came here. Hinata has always said how kind and understanding you are. How she sees you as a very knowledgeable older sister. She was silent in contemplation as she listened to what he said. After a long moment she said, "Who are you?" He looked at her questioningly. "You are not Uzumaki Naruto, you are not the man who would not give a damn what a few stupid villagers think," she said, and he was taken aback. She continued, "Hinata loves you, you love her. Trust me, there is nothing more that she would want than to be with you, to give you a family. Don't you dare let a single, vile person change the person that you are. You don't have to worry about Hinata, she will always stay by you. But like I said, I don't want my children." She see him off. "Don't give me that. You and I both know that if your children are half the person you are, then a few stupid villagers aren't going to matter." He gaped at her, an incredulous look on his face. She suddenly realized that she nearly shouted at the Hokage. "Sorry, Naruto, I was out of line." He looked away for a moment, then looked back at her, a smile on his face. "No," he said, "I was out of line thinking like that. Don't ever think it wrong to speak the truth around me." He slowly stood to leave. "I needed that, thank you." She nodded weakly as he made his way to the door. He paused for a moment as he held the doorknob. "I can see why Hinata looks up to you as a sister. You have no idea what those words mean to me." He looked back, a big grin on his face. "Thanks again, Kurenai-nichan." With that he opened the door and let himself out. Sakura was at the admission desk of the hospital when the main door opened to reveal her old teammate. Naruto walked over to her with a purposeful look about him. When he reached her he asked, "Is she ready, Sakura?" "Hi, she is able to leave any time now, she was waiting for you, though I must say I thought you might be later," she replied as the two started walking to Hinata's room. "That's good, thanks Sakura-chan," he said. He gave her a curious, sidelong look that Sakura interpreted correctly when she guessed what he was thinking, and she said, "She will be fine. I think, however, that it would be best if you two waited a while before trying again." Naruto stiffened, and Sakura feared she overstepped her bounds. "Sorry, but I assume that you two will try for another." Naruto relaxed a bit, but he still looked uncomfortable. "Yes, I want to try for it again, but I am unsure how to talk to her about it." He grimaced a bit. "That, and it is weird talking with you about that." "Why?" she asked, curious. "I am a medical professional, after all." "True, but I kinda think of you as a sister, and well, it's weird to me talking about, that," he said, rubbing the back of his head nervously. She shook her head a bit, and she also noted that he seemed calmer than yesterday. That's good, she thought. Despite his bumbling ways, he might help Hinata feel better too. The two reached the door and Sakura nodded to him. "I hope for the best for you too," she whispered as she left him at the door to his wife's room. Naruto stood there a moment, his hand still on the handle for the door. He shook his head as though trying to rid himself of his bad thoughts. "Hinata needs me now, I have to help her as much as I can," he told himself. He took a deep breath and opened the door. There in the bed sat his wife. She was stock still and staring unseeing out of her window. She made no movement at his arrival, as though she was outside herself and did not yet realize that he was even there. Naruto walked over to her and standing by her side reached out and placed his hand on her shoulder. She jumped a bit and slowly turned to see him there. "Naruto-kun," she said so quietly that Naruto almost didn't hear her, despite being right next to her. She then looked down, her hands folded on her lap, a single tear starting to well up in her now dull, lavender eye. When Naruto saw that, he cringed inwardly. If her bright, caring eyes were gone, then there was no punishment that was too cruel for the man that did this to her. Naruto had to control his anger at that moment, as the thought of her eyes turning to a cold, emotionless void, like most Hyuga, was like a knife to his gut. After all, her eyes were different from most of the Hyuga, they were caring and warm. They were not like her father's, who admittedly was pleasant enough to Naruto, his eyes were cold. Naruto spoke, Hinata, I talked with Sakura and she said that you are okay to leave. He got no response. Should I get your things for you? He asked and she simply nodded. She seems in a daze, he thought as he went around and collected her things from the room, for her clothes in the corner, which he gave to her to wear, to the cards and flowers that she had next to her bed. After she changed, he walked her home. Her feet seemed to be moving on their own and leaving Naruto to guide her as she seemed to not know where they were going. They made it back to their home. Naruto walked her to the bedroom where he laid her into bed. There, he said, trying to get her talking, is there anything I can get you? Anything you need and I will be more than willing to get it for you. He got no response again. She had not said a single thing after her initial, Naruto-kun, and it was worrying him. He stood there for a bit neither speaking and then he turned to leave. Well, Hinata-chan, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to ask, okay? He was halfway out the door when Head heard a weak, please. He stopped in his tracks and his head snapped back to see her looking at him. Her face was streaming with tears and she said again, please. He walked to the bed again, and kneeled at her side face to face with her. He reached and wiped the tears from her face. He said nothing at this time, he was still waiting to see what she needed. She was silent for a long time, she was just looking at him. Finally she said, please, Naruto-kun, don't leave me alone. I just want to be with you for a moment. He nodded and stood up, he removed his robe and slid in bed with her. He pulled her close and let her cry into his sea. He was rubbing her back slowly. It is like I said yesterday, everything will be alright, and I will make sure that you are safe next time. Next time? She asked, looking up into his face. He nodded, yes, next time will be different, Hinata. I will not allow a single misguided person to take you away from me. It may not be physically away from me, but I don't know what I would do if this caused me to never see you smile or blush at me. There came no response from her, and the two of them just lay there for what seemed like hours. She had stopped crying a while ago, and now was lying against him with her arm draped over him and sleeping peacefully. It was at that time Naruto realized that, no matter what that person did, he did not stop her from being with Naruto. They would get through this. They will not give up on this hope of family to them. After all, she was laying him, never giving up and never going back on their words. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.